This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Helping you find emotional, spiritual, and physical balance. What does your future hold? It's time to find out with Psychic Suzanna.
Yes, you are right where you need to be. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Now, you can always find us at PsychicSuzanna.com, where you get a free question, you get the schedule, you get to know what's going on in my life. Or you could go to KFAB.com, and every show we do is on the webpage, and you can download it and listen to it years down the road. We're going to be talking today about a different mode of healing that many of you are used to. And if you go back in the past, our past shows, you will see we have done this often, from chiropractors to mind-body healing. It's all about getting you empowered. And what we do is we try to look for people who will empower you with their thoughts and take it in and listen to it and come with the thought and seeing if it is something that works for you. We're here to educate you, to help you grow, just as I'm hoping to grow. But tonight's guest is going to be a rather interesting guest. His name is Brad Yates. He is the author of The Wizard Witch and the Key to Success. He also has an article on freedom at your fingertips. Brad Yates, you could find him at bradyates.net. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Susanna. I'm glad to be here.
Well, first of all, when we're talking about tapping, and that's what we're talking about, how did the tapping, what is EFT exactly? Let's just start it basically. Just help us here understand what EFT means.
As a client of mine once said, EFT must stand for extra freaky treatment.
It could be. By the way, on your web, your videos on YouTube, phenomenal. Okay? But all right, extra freaky treatment. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Actually, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's a technique for giving us emotional freedom. So often our emotions control us, and this is a way of giving ourselves, freedom at our fingertips, using our fingertips to tap on certain points on our body. It's based on acupuncture, and it's a way of allowing ourselves to get free from those uncomfortable emotions that so often control our behavior. So how it came about, the Reader's Digest condensed version of this is a psychologist named Roger Callahan was working with a woman with a lifelong fear of water, and she was about 40 years old, couldn't stand to be around water, could only bathe in about an inch of water, lifelong trauma, and she had worked with a bunch of different therapists, and even after a year and a half with Dr. Callahan, the best she could do is be sitting near a swimming pool, but she had to be looking away, and even that was really difficult for her.
Whoa.
Yeah, so pretty serious case, and Dr. Callahan had been, sort of expanding his horizons and was taking a course in acupressure, the whole ancient Chinese medicine theory of energy flowing through the body, and when this energy is disturbed, people are unwell, and so in acupuncture, you stick needles in key points to get the flow of energy balanced, and people experience their natural state of wellness. So he was learning about this, and one of the main ways that her fear of water came up was she felt a knot in her stomach, and he thought, well, maybe we can help with that. And knowing that the meridian point for the stomach was under the eye, he just tapped under her eye for a minute, and she said, it's gone. And he said, what's gone? She said, the fear, and starts running towards the swimming pool. And he starts running after her, saying, wait, and she goes, it's okay, I know I don't know how to swim. But she got down in front of the swimming pool and started splashing water in her face with no negative reaction.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
And so naturally Dr. Callahan thought, he himself thought, wow, that's pretty remarkable. So he started experimenting with other clients and found that tapping different points worked better for different emotional issues. And within a very short time, he put himself out of business because all of his clients who were coming to him on a weekly basis were finding themselves relieved of their emotional issues.
Wow. So the tapping is opening up. Now, you were talking about the energy phases, meridians, I believe you caused them?
The meridians are the pathways that energy flows in our body. And if you've ever seen an acupuncture model or an acupuncture chart, you see these lines that run up and down the body. Mm-hmm. And these are the different ways that the body, the energy flows through these different pathways. You know, meridian, it's like veins and arteries are the pathways for blood. Meridians are the pathways for this life force, the chi, the energy. And it can get stuck in different places based on, trauma that we've been through or a number of different things. And so by tapping these key points along these meridians, we get the flow going again, and we clear that. The most simple way of saying it is we clear the stress that occurs from those blockages.
So this emotional freedom technique,
mm-hmm.
It might be a thing we need to look for when it comes to if we're at a block in our healing. Could this be a way, something else we add to our healing, to our understanding of things?
I think it's one of the most tremendous. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but
yes.
I started out as a hypnotherapist. Actually, I started as an actor, but then I became a hypnotherapist. And in that process, I was introduced to EFT and just found it so remarkable. What sold me on it was the demonstration by Gary Craig. Gary Craig was a student of Roger Callahan's, and he's the one who sort of simplified the method and then gave it the name Emotional Freedom Technique.
Mm-hmm.
And he had everyone have a Hershey's Kiss, and he had everyone rate their craving for the Hershey's Kiss on a scale of 0 to 10. And at that time, I was something of a chocoholic, and it was a good 9 or so that I really wanted that chocolate. And then
I'm right there with you. There with you. Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate.
Okay.
So then he had us tap on the craving, even though I want this craving, and we were tapping these different points on our face and our chest. And after a minute or two, I had about as much interest in the foil wrapper as I did the chocolate.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thought, there is something here.
Wow. So so by tapping on our body and in different focal points, we're able to release something that may be bothering us, even a phobia? Are you saying this?
Absolutely. Phobias is how the tapping process came about, was when Dr. Callahan was looking to relieve phobias. Because, these feelings, fear and anger and sadness, we don't think them. We don't sort of casually sit there very relaxed and go, gosh, I'm really, really scared right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's a visceral experience. It's something we feel in our body. That's because it's the energy in our body that's feeling this disturbance. So by tapping these key points, we relax that. And so the fear or the anger, the sadness, or whatever the uncomfortable experience we're having is, it fades away. And so it happens in that moment. We're clearing the discomfort in that moment, but we can also clear the discomfort that is associated with past events. We might look back and go, oh, every time I think about this event that happened when I was 20 or when I was 5 or whenever it is, and that it triggers that emotion in us, we can tap while talking about that issue, that event, and clear it so that it no longer causes us any problems.
Right now, we're going to clear the moment, and we're going to come back to you, Brad Yates. Brad Yates is here talking to us about tapping, emotional freedom technique. We're going to take a few breaks and pay our bills, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. This is where you grow. Bye-bye. We'll be right back.
Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB.
Yes, you are where you need to be. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Did I mention? I want you to belong to our Facebook. It's Life with Psychic Suzanna, where you get a list of all the shows coming up. So you would know that today we have Brad Yates. Oh, and we've got some terrific people coming up. But today we have Brad Yates, who's talking to us about tapping. But please join us on Facebook. Also join us at Susanna Stickney on Facebook. Then you'll find out what we're doing. I always try to give an intention every day. The intention I'm working on, join me in that. Let's grow together. Let's get more powerful with each other. as a group, we can do wonderful things for this area. Right now, we're going back to Brad Yates. Welcome to the show, Brad Yates.
Thank you, Susanna.
Brad, you're talking to us about the emotional freedom technique, and you're talking to us about tapping. Are there different tapping areas for different problems, or now I noticed on your YouTubes that we tap the same places. You tap the same places all the time. Is that correct?
Yes, and there are a couple of points that vary depending on different practitioners, but pretty much it's the same 8 or 9 points that we tap. When Dr. Callahan first came up with this, he found that he was tapping a couple of different points in different algorithms depending on the issue.
Wait a minute. Wait. What is algorithms?
Oh, I'm sorry. Different patterns. Like you would tap the eyebrow point, then the collarbone point, then under the arm. And Gary Craig was one of his first students and had been trained as an engineer at Stanford University. So he said, thinking like an engineer, I started throwing out what didn't work. And he said, rather than taking a lot of time trying to figure out which algorithm, which pattern to use, I figured, what if we just tap all of the points, because there's only 8 or 9 points that we use depending on which points we use. And if we just tap them from top to bottom, and he found that he got the same results, whether he tapped it in a certain pattern or just tapped them top to bottom. So we figured it's just that much easier to do it, and it doesn't take any more time. It's a very quick process.
How long is a tap? I think it's about 3 minutes, isn't it? The tapping process. Now, when you're tapping, again, God bless YouTube, God bless your webpage, bradyates.net. But when you're tapping, you're saying affirmations. Now, is there different tapping for cleansing or to release problems, or is it all the same? Do you tap all the same way?
Yeah, the basic formula of EFT is that you start with the problem. Let's say you're really angry at someone. I'll say, okay, I'm really angry at Bob. Bob really ticked me off today. So I'll say, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, how upset am I? Well, he was a real jerk. It's a good 9. And usually we can feel this in our body. It's like, oh, I feel it in my fists, or I feel it in my chest or my stomach. So I'll have the person get in touch with where they feel it. So then we'll just, the very basic form of EFT, which is so simple, anyone can do it. That's why it's such a great healing tool, because anybody can do it in a matter of moments. Mm-hmm. So you would tap the different points, and you could just say, even though I had this anger at Bob, and then tap each of these points saying anger at Bob, and by tapping these points while saying that and tuned into that emotion, it's going to start to fade, because we start clearing out all of that stuff that's so upset until we're like, yeah, maybe Bob was a jerk, but it's not doing me any good to be angry right now, so I'd rather feel good. I'm not going to, give him the pleasure of me being upset. So we clear that out. And so whatever the emotion is, or whatever the issue is that's bothering us, we can take that and tap the points based on that. Now,
and release it with the tapping.
And we release it with the tapping. Yeah, well, that we take it from if the anger at Bob is at a 9, we watch it go down. It may in the first round it may go down to a 7. It may go down to a 0. Sometimes these things clear like that.
Okay. We had Margaret Trudeau, I believe her name was, who talked about held-in emotions, and Louise Hay talks about this.
Yes.
That held-in emotions can cause physical illness, like stomach problems might be having to do with the motherhood or questioning the mother. If I'm having those issues, can the tapping help me bring those issues to the surface to release them? Will it help me to figure out what those issues are?
Absolutely. That's why we so often see people get relief with physical issues with the tapping, is because so much of any physical issue is there's an emotional component to it. It's a manifestation of some emotion and something that's going on. So sometimes we'll be tapping on an emotional issue, like I'll tap with someone about, gee, I'm so angry at Bob. And as we're tapping at the end, they'll say, I'm not so angry. And by the way, I had this stiffness in my shoulder, and it's gone now. Mm-hmm. Or we might say, the person will say, yeah, I've got this stiffness in my shoulder, and we'll tap on that. And at the end, they'll say, yeah, my shoulder feels great. And at the same time, I was angry at this guy, Bob, and I feel great about that now. So the two are, it's why we talk about mind-body as opposed to the mind or the body.
Wonderful, wonderful. So how often should one do tapping? I mean, do you tap daily? Do you tap weekly? Or do you tap when you feel a little bit of stress? Is stress like an anxiety? Can it be released through tapping?
Yeah. Tapping, as far as I know, is the simplest, easiest, and perhaps most effective way of clearing stress because you can do it anywhere. It only takes a matter of moments. A lot of stress workshops will teach you things about, getting a good night's sleep and taking walks and eating healthy, which are all excellent. They're all excellent prescriptions. I advise anyone to do those things. But in the moment that you're getting stressed out is not the moment that you can go get a good night's sleep that night. Mm-hmm. But your fingers are already there. You can always tap. So you can clear the stress. Now, it's something you can certainly use as needed. When it comes up, use it. So often we just take stress for granted in modern society. It's like, oh yeah, it's just part of the job. But stress has, it has compound interest, and it builds up. Just a little bit of stress here, a little bit of stress there, and by the end of the day, someone looks at us cross-eyed and we blow a fuse. And they're like, whoa, that was way out of proportion to what just happened, but we've been building up all this stress that finally blew. So, I recommend tapping on a daily basis because it's energy hygiene. Mm-hmm. Just like I recommend, brushing and flossing.
I love that, energy hygiene.
Yeah.
You know what? We're going to have to take another break. This is how the radio does. But, we're going to be right back with you, Brad Yates, at bradyates.net. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna. You stay tuned. We're going to figure out how to make yourself better every single day. You're just a tap away, according to Brad.
Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. She knew I was going to say that.
Back on air. We're back on air. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Please join us at Life with Psychic Suzanna on Facebook or Susanna Stickney. Also, you can get a free question at PsychicSuzanna.com. KFAB.com has a list of all the shows. You're going to be able to re-listen to the show that we're having tonight with Brad Yates. Brad, thank you for being on the show.
I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, Brad, we're talking about you believe that we should be tapping ourselves daily to really, well, that might sound weird, but we know what we're talking about. Yeah. Jim did a great promo of it a little bit earlier. But you're talking that can we release things in our body through the tapping that have been stored for years and decades?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, I've worked with people, in their 70s and 80s and helped them clear trauma that happened very early in life. Because there is only now. Uh-huh. So, it's not like we go back in time and change what happened so much as we just clear the discomfort and the energy that's still remaining right now so that, people will look back at something that happened. It's like, yeah, it's like watching it. They'll say, as I remember it now, it's like watching a movie as though it happened to someone else, and there's no emotional attachment to it anymore.
Now, this is what you do full time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, you sign your emails with Be Magnificent. Right on. Right on.
Yeah,
I love that.
I used to sign my letters Be Well, and one day I decided I want more for people than just that.
I love that. I love that. And it's about wanting more. Well, if we end up this conversation, what can you tell us that why we should look up bradyates.net? What will we find there?
Well, you'll find a whole bunch of stuff. Just a lot of there's a lot of audio recordings. There's descriptions about EFT, explanations of what it is, and I try to make it very simple. It is admittedly a little strange, this tapping on the face. So people will look, if you do it in public, people might look at you strange. Now, that's only for right now. There's going to be a time in the future where it's just going to be a given. People will be tapping, and you'll say, and people will go, oh, that person's stressed about something. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that we do in public that don't make any sense, and this makes total sense. And as people understand it, it'll just be a given. But for right now, it's fine if you do it in the privacy of your own home. Mm-hmm. And as you said, I have over 100 YouTube videos on a bunch of different issues that only go for a couple of minutes, and people can,
Phenomenal.
The whole idea is to help people feel a lot better right now, to care a lot more about themselves, and to clear the things that stop them from enjoying the best life possible.
Well, is tapping something that the book you wrote, The Wizard's Way, I believe it was called?
The Wizard's Wish, or How He Made the Yuckies Go Away.
And it's a children's book about how to teach them to tap.
Yes.
Is this something that can help teenagers, do you believe? Or
it absolutely can. And
is this something like a school system should approach using?
There are a lot of us trying to get into schools, and there are some schools that are actually saying, hey, let's take a look at this. There's on the website for my children's book, thewizardswish.com, there's a video that a friend of mine posted of a school in Mexico where the teachers tap with the kids, and it's just remarkable.
Thank you for being with us, Brad. You can find him at bradyates.net. He wrote the book, The Wizard's Wish. Check it out. We will be right back. This is Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Yes, you're right where you need to be. Life with Psychic Suzanna on 1110 KFAB. Now, please remember, you can go to PsychicSuzanna.com. You can get a free question. You can also, if you belong to our Facebook group, you have a private email that you can write us a note, and then we will answer your letters on air. We will check them after the 8:30 break. I do want to tell you that this show is all about empowering you and giving you more power every moment. Join us, Life with Psychic Suzanna. Join us also at SuzannaStickney.com, Susanna Stickney at Facebook. Something that I think has been very, very interesting, and I don't know if it grabbed you the same way as me, Jim, but it was the earthquake and everything that was going over Japan.
Right.
It sort of like puts everything into proportion. Here one day somebody wakes up thinking they're worrying about their hair not looking good. They're worrying about someone not calling when they should. They're worrying about all the unimportant things which we sometimes make real, real important. And sometimes we make a lot of drama in our life. And we forget what's real, what's important. And the important is to be present in the moment, to be able to be aware and to share love and give love and be supportive to everyone else. So with this great disaster, let's reprioritize our life. And let's put things that are important on the top of our list and communicate a little bit better. I want to tell you that if you'd like to go on your cell phone and make a donation, you can text Red Cross, our 90999, and donate $10 to the Japan earthquake. Isn't it wonderful? God bless our phones being able to do that. It's amazing what all we can do. Right here in Omaha, we can text 90999 and donate $10 to someone who doesn't maybe know where their next meal is coming from. We have it so good in our country. And let's pray for those who don't have it as good as ours. I want to tell you about our next show. Interesting show is coming up. He is a phenomenon on the internet. His name is Dr. Brad Yates. Now, he has written about 6 or 8 books. So we're going to take him a couple books at a time. The books that we're going to talk about next week is The Good Enough Child and The Good Enough Teen. So we're going to talk about helping you communicate better with your children, how to not make your children feel as though they're the end of the world, but part of your joy. Let's let our children know where you are. And a lot of times when people come see me in a bar, I will have a mother or a father who constantly puts themselves down. And I ask them, do they understand that when you put yourself down, you're putting down your children? You're telling your children their mother is not worthy. You're telling everybody who loves you that you're not good. So we need to learn to start honoring ourselves as the vehicle of God in the world. Dr. Brad Yates is going to be on. He's going to be talking the good enough child and the good enough teenagers, how to make our teenagers better every year. We are going to be turning to your phone calls. I want to give you the numbers. The number is 1-800-543-1110 or 558-1110. Again, the number is 1-800-543-1110 and 558-1110. This is the time when you can call. You can ask your questions. We can talk